Chapter 31. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Assassinate when you can't win. Detestable. Congratulations to the host for upgrading your talent to an A+ rank. Suddenly, a burst of white light appeared within a meter of Ling Feng. Su Ranran, who was standing at the side, noticed this scene and subconsciously covered her eyes. It was too bright. Ling Feng also felt as if a surge of power had suddenly appeared in his body. That feeling was simply too comfortable. After a short while, the white light disappeared and Ling Feng returned to normal. "Are you all right?" Su Ranran opened her eyes and asked worriedly. It's fine. Just now, I felt that my talent was about to transform. It's a pity that I was just one step away. Ling Feng said with a smile. Su Ranran was dumbfounded when she heard this. He looked at Ling Feng as if he was a monster. "Speaking of which, didn't you just transform your talent? What's going on? You're going to transform your talent again?" A hint of worry appeared in Su Ranran's eyes when she heard that he had failed to transform. Without waiting for her to ask, Ling Feng smiled and said, "Even though the transformation failed, it's not like I didn't gain anything. At least my innate ability has been strengthened." After speaking, Ling Feng summoned his clones. A white light flashed and 20 clones appeared around him. "I can now summon 20 clones after the enhancement, and each is 10% stronger than me." What he meant was that the current Ling Feng had 20 clones that were even stronger than him. If others knew about this, they would definitely be envious. Only a few people would experience a transformation in their talent when they broke through to the next level. Ling Feng didn't have a breakthrough, and his talent didn't even change. He was just one step away from the next level, and he had such a significant improvement. Rare was an understatement. Su Ranran's expression also became happy. After all, it was a good thing that Ling Feng had become stronger. "That's great. You've become so strong. We can go to the same university in the future." "Probably," Ling Feng said. Ling Feng didn't really look forward to a place like a university because he had the system. As long as there was a place where he could hunt and kill foreign races, he would be able to become stronger. "It's getting late, we should go home," Ling Feng looked up at the sky and said. Very quickly, the two of them returned to Fantasy City. After submitting their mission to the Awakeners Guild and receiving the reward of 100,000 star coins, they bade each other farewell and returned to their respective homes. For the next few days, Ling Feng and Su Ranran would meet outside the city every day to hunt for alien races. They would go out very early and return very late. Ling Feng's combat strength had also improved significantly, and he was now at the advanced tier 2. Su Ranran had also improved a lot. Although her combat strength had not improved, the control of her skills had reached a point of perfection, and her overall combat strength had also improved a lot. Because Ling Feng had made quite a name for himself, he was also being watched by the major forces. At the same time, in the Li family. He was the third son of the Li family's master, and everyone called him Third Young Master. At this moment, Third Young Master was sitting there with his legs crossed and an investigation report in his hand. The report showed Ling Feng's information. This Ling Feng only has A. rank talent, but he can display the combat power of an S. rank. He's an interesting kid. It's a pity that he offended Li Wu. The Third Young Master put the report aside and raised his head. "If my Li family doesn't care about this, it will damage our Li family's face. If outsiders know about this, they will think that my Li family is afraid of this kid. Black Shadow, go to the dark market and inform Li Wu and the other man to put up a reward for Ling Feng." After he said that, the air behind him rippled, and then a man in black who looked like an assassin walked in. "As you wish." He knelt on the ground. Then, he disappeared. In the hospital. Li Tsong lay on the bed and looked like he was in pain. He slowly sat up. The pained expression on his face did not diminish. If I don't take revenge, I, Li Tsong, am not a human. Then, he looked at Li Wu, who was sitting at the side. His eyes were cold as he continued, Li Wu, go to the dark market and put up a bounty for Ling Feng's assassination. I will definitely kill Ling Feng. Li Wu also nodded with a cold face, second uncle, don't worry. I will definitely make Ling Feng regret offending the Li family. In the principal's office. The principal sat on the chair and placed the pen in his hand on the table. He looked at Secretary Qian. How's Su Ranran doing recently? Secretary Qian, who was standing at the side, said respectfully, she and Ling Feng have accepted quite a few missions from the Awakened Guild. Recently, they have been hunting foreign races outside the city. Upon hearing this, the principal raised his eyebrows and said, the relationship between these two doesn't look ordinary. Then, the principal thought for a moment and continued, take care of Ling Feng when you see him. Go and tell the people below not to make things difficult for Ling Feng in the future. Do everything that he can do. Hearing these words, Secretary Qian was a little stunned. After all, the principal's attitude towards Ling Feng could be said to be completely disdainful. He didn't know why such a change had occurred. And this treatment was really too good for him. Principal, isn't this treatment a little inappropriate? The principal just smiled and said, the important person is not Ling Feng, but Su Ranran. She was accepted by the elemental school of the top 10 schools. In addition, Ling Feng's relationship with Su Ranran is not ordinary. Naturally, he has to treat Ling Feng better. At this point, Secretary Qian suddenly realized and said, all right. I'll go now. After that, Secretary Qian left the office. In the weapon store. The boss was sitting there and reading a book in boredom. Suddenly, as if he had sensed something, the beard by his mouth trembled. Then, he walked out of the weapon store and closed it. He looked outside the city and walked out. Ling Feng and Su Ranran were busy hunting the alien race and did not notice a pair of eyes hiding in the corner. The eyes were fixed on the two of them, but there was no malice in them. Instead, they were filled with kindness. The old man smiled at the two of them and said indifferently, this Ling Feng isn't a bad kid either. In such a short time, he's already able to gain combat power. His speed isn't any slower than Su Ranran's. It must be because of his clone. But it's really a pity. Without an S.rank talent, it's really hard to enter the Elemental Academy. But this Su Ranran has really opened my eyes. In such a short time, she's already mastered 5 innate skills. If she's allowed to continue developing, I'm sure she'll definitely be the pillar of my Elemental Academy's lightning faculty. I can't let anything happen to her, or I'll lose all my face. In the dark market. The dark market was in the black market. There were all kinds of things in the black market, while the dark market was a place dedicated to killing and robbing. On the bounty list of the dark market, there was an extremely lucrative reward for an assassination. It was even at the top of the list. Many people were shocked when they saw it. It's actually a reward for killing someone. This is really rare. That's right. I can't believe I'm getting such a high reward for killing a mere A.rank student. I'm tempted. I'll take it. After a short while, many people accepted the mission. After all, the reward for this mission was too high, and the target was too weak. In everyone's eyes, it was a free order. After the assassin received the mission, he quickly rushed out of the city and set up an ambush at the place where Ling Feng would definitely pass by when he returned to the city, the Rocky Hill. In the Bai family, a middle-aged man was sitting in the study, as if waiting for someone. You were looking for me, father. Bai Xiaosa walked in, a little disgruntled. After all, he had just cultivated. Anyone who was interrupted in the middle of their cultivation would have this kind of attitude, and their tone was somewhat impatient. Bai Qianlang patted Bai Xiaosa's shoulder and said with a smile, "What's wrong? You're still angry with your father?" I'm here to tell you some news, bad news. Upon hearing this, Bai Xiaosa shrugged his shoulders indifferently. Anyway, even if the sky fell, his father would be there to hold it up, so what was there to be afraid of? Bai Qianlang had naturally guessed Bai Xiaosa's reaction, so he said with a smile, I just received news that Ling Feng is on the bounty list of the dark market and the reward is extremely generous, a total of 500,000 star coins. Upon hearing this, Bai Xiaosa's expression changed instantly as he hurriedly asked, did anyone accept the mission? If not, we'll quickly spend money to cancel the mission. There was a rule in the dark market. If no one accepted the bounty, the other party could spend money to cancel the bounty. After the cancellation, the same bounty could not be reissued within a month. Or it could be said that money could buy a month's life. It's a pity that it's too late. They've already been picked up, and that wave of assassins has already left the city, Bai Qianlang said. Hearing this, Bai Xiaosa's heart sank. The assassin had already left the city, and Ling Feng's life was in danger. Then, the memory of the 5 of them drinking together a few days ago appeared in his mind. The 4 had yet to complete their pledge ceremony. At the thought of this, Bai Xiaosa's heart ached. You can save him, can't you, father? Bai Xiaosa had placed his last hope on Bai Qianlang. It was also the first time Bai Qianlang had seen his son like this, and he said, it's possible, but you'll offend some people, and you'll have to pay a price. That's good. Father, as long as you save Ling Feng's life, I'll listen to whatever you say in the future. Bai Xiaosa said seriously. Alright, then you can go to the Void Academy in advance. Bai Qianlang said after thinking for a while. Good. I promise. Bai Xiaosa said through gritted teeth. Chapter 32 You are listening at novelfull.audio. You want to play with me, assassin? Outside the city. Just as Ling Feng and Su Ranran were about to return to the city, Ling Feng's watch suddenly beeped. He turned on his watch and saw a message from Bai Xiaosa. After checking it out curiously, he frowned. Someone is trying to assassinate you. Remember to be careful. Someone actually wanted to assassinate him. Ling Feng looked around warily. When he saw Su Ranran, he immediately buried the murderous intent in his heart. Su Ranran, you can go back first today. I still have something to do, so I'll be back later. What is it? How about I accompany you? Su Ranran asked, puzzled. It's fine, no need. I suddenly had some enlightenment. While it's still early, I'm going to find a place to consolidate it. I won't forget what you told me, so I'll definitely be more stable. Don't worry. Ling Feng said with a smile. After that, Su Ranran nodded. However, it seemed that she still did not want to leave at first, probably afraid that something would happen to Ling Feng. However, after Ling Feng's persuasion, Su Ranran finally decided to leave. Ling Feng, on the other hand, was observing the surroundings. He knew that students like Su Ranran, who had been accepted into the top 10 academies in advance, would have guardians around them. If Su Ranran were to be dragged into this matter, she would definitely be able to get through it safely. However, Ling Feng did not want that to happen. After all, this matter was his own business and had little to do with her. Moreover, he didn't want to drag her into this assassination. Besides, it wasn't like he couldn't solve this problem himself. He could even use this opportunity to become stronger, so there was no need to drag her into this. After Su Ranran left, Ling Feng did not return to the city. Instead, he turned around and ran towards Undead Valley. On the way, Ling Feng opened his watch and sent a message to Bai Xiaosa. What's an assassin's combat strength? The lowest is tier 2, and the highest is tier 4. There are 16 of them in total, with the most tier 2, 6 tier 3, and only 1 tier 4. I just checked clearly. The enemy's combat power is very high. Even if their talents are only B. rank, you must be careful. Bai Xiaosha's reply came very quickly, and then Ling Feng replied, "Thank you so much for your information. I owe you a favor." "Why are you saying all this? We almost became sworn brothers." "Don't worry, I've already asked my father to save you. Don't go back to the city yet. My father will definitely have a way. Help me thank uncle." "You're welcome, you're welcome. You, on the other hand, must be careful." "I will. Don't worry, I'll make it back alive." "Alright, be careful." Ling Feng turned off his watch and ran towards the direction of Undead Valley. He no longer hid the killing intent in his eyes and arrived at the valley in a short while. Standing there, Ling Feng looked forward indifferently. Then, 20 clones appeared behind him. Today, he must break through to the 3rd tier. Ling Feng silently set a goal for himself. Then, he raised the Tang Dao in his hand and distributed it to his clone, who also rushed forward. The clones quickly split into 4 teams, led by number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. They split into 4 teams and charged in 4 directions. Number 1 and number 2 were the first to be summoned, so their changes were the greatest. Their eyes were extremely lively, and their strength was also very strong. Ling Feng was looking forward to the future development of these 2 avatars. Number 3 and number 4 were slightly weaker than number 1 and number 2, but they were much better than the other clones and could barely be the team leaders. The 4 teams of late-stage Tier 2 avatars could be said to be sweeping across the Undead Valley. No one could stop them, and they could kill gods in their way. The highest combat strength of the foreign tribe in the Undead Valley was only at Tier 2. They had no way of resisting the experienced clone, who had the combat strength of an advanced Tier 2. Ling Feng was like a god of death, constantly shuttling through the Undead Valley. Everywhere he went, the ground was covered with bones. Congratulations on killing the Silver Tier Skeletal Warrior. You have gained 20 level points. Congratulations on killing the Golden Skeleton Warrior. You have gained 50 level points. Congratulations on killing the Dark Knight, level points plus 100. The system's notifications kept echoing in his mind. The alien races that were living on the outer perimeter were quickly killed by Ling Feng. He could only order his clone to enter the Undead Valley. In the past, Ling Feng definitely wouldn't dare to go deep in because it was too dangerous. But now, his combat strength had been greatly improved, so he could try to go deep. The surrounding environment quickly changed. There were rocks everywhere, and there were bones in the cracks. Crows were flying in the air, giving people a feeling of death. Before Ling Feng came in, the place was extremely quiet, with only the sound of crows. However, after Ling Feng entered, everything around him changed. The sleeping undead were awakened by his intrusion and climbed out of the cracks one by one. The soul fire that was revealed was burning fiercely, as if it represented their current anger. All of them charged towards Ling Feng's clone. Ling Feng wasn't a kind person either. Number 1 held the Tang sword and wasn't afraid of the undead at all. In an instant, a blue light appeared on the edge of the burning blade. Energy slash. The rest of the clones also followed number 1's example, holding Tang Dao and using energy slashes the moment they rushed out. The newly awakened undead fell into a deep sleep again under the powerful attack. Congratulations on killing Bonehead. You have gained 100 level up points. Congratulations on killing the Platinum Skeleton Warrior. You have gained 70 level points. Congratulations on killing the Red Robed Skeletal Wizard. Level points plus 80. Congratulations on killing the Green Corpse Frost, level plus 120. A variety of names appeared in Ling Feng's system prompt. From this change, it could be seen that there were more undead creatures here, and there were more types. It could be said that this was Ling Feng's blessing. Those clones were simply killing madly, and their eyes were shining. As for Ling Feng, he was hiding at the side, not participating in the battle at all. Instead, he was thinking about the assassin incident that was about to happen. At first, he planned to raise his combat strength to tier 3. When there was a change in the situation, he would then use one heart as one. At that time, his strength would be more or less on par with an ordinary tier 4 combatant. Of course, it would also have to be an ordinary talent. Otherwise, he would not be able to fight them. Therefore, after he reached the 3rd step, he only needed to pay attention to the 4th step. As for the mastermind, Ling Feng had an answer in his heart. Perhaps it was Li Tsong and Li Wu. He had only offended them, and the only one who had such power was the Li family. Inside the city, they didn't dare to make a move, but outside the city, such things were common. At Rocky Hill, a dozen or so assassins were hiding there, constantly observing the surroundings. Once there were any changes, they would act at once. Suddenly, a young girl entered their line of sight. Just as they were about to make a move, they heard one of them say, "Don't do anything." This is Su Ranran, the prodigy from the 3rd high school. She's an SS. rank and has been accepted by the School of Elements in advance. She must have a guardian with her. If we do anything, we'll be in danger. Upon hearing this, the man's back immediately broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, someone had reminded him. Otherwise, if he had fought, it would have been a big problem. After Su Ranran left, they waited for a few more hours, but Ling Feng still did not appear. They started to get anxious. Wait, why isn't Ling Feng here yet? Yeah, don't tell me he took a detour. No, someone in the city has sent me a message. The target hasn't returned to the city yet. Then what's going on? Isn't he afraid of not returning to the city at night? Just wait and see. Wouldn't it be easier if we die outside the city? The few of them quieted down again and just lay there, waiting for Ling Feng's arrival. However, after a few hours, there was still no sign of Ling Feng. It was only when the sky started to turn white that everyone stared at each other for an entire night. However, the target still did not appear. Damn it! Does that kid know that someone tried to assassinate him? I think so. Otherwise, he would have returned to the city long ago. Besides, Su Ranran returned to the city alone. That kid is really stupid. If Su Ranran was around, we might have to be a little afraid. But he sent her away. Heh. The few of them were already fighting with each other. They were also extremely angry. If it were any other time, they would definitely consider giving up on this mission because they were in a very bad state. However, they also investigated Ling Feng's combat strength. He was only at tier 2. To them, they could kill him with a flip of their hands. Don't think that you can torture us like this. At this time, in the Undead Valley, Ling Feng was unscrupulously killing undead. The level points in the system were also constantly increasing. As the head of a skeleton knight fell to the ground, the soul fire was extinguished, and the surroundings were filled with skeletons. Ling Feng's mouth also revealed a trace of a smile. Upgrade combat strength. 100,000 upgrade points will be consumed. Do you want to upgrade? Yes. Chapter 33. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I don't care about the consequences. Since ancient times, dark and windy nights were the best times for murder and arson. In Fantasy City, the lights were bright, and many people were walking around with lanterns. It was pitch black outside the Fantasy City. There was an unexpected danger hidden in the grass, and only the faint moonlight shone unreservedly on the wilderness. Rocky Hill. The dozen or so assassins prostrated there, but their faces were full of fatigue. They kept rubbing their eyes as if they were trying to lift their spirits. Suddenly, there was a sound beside her. Asen. The assassin looked to the side in confusion, even though there was no one beside him. However, there was no answer to the assassin's question in the pitch black air. Instantly, the assassin felt that something was not right. His heart tensed up, and his hands began to move quickly, but his expression was as if nothing had happened. However, a bright knife was placed on his neck before he could pull out his weapon. A hint of despair appeared in the assassin's eyes. Even though he was prepared to die as an assassin, he was not willing to give up. "Who are you?" Unfortunately, the blade could not speak and could only kill. A bloody line appeared on the assassin's neck, and the ground was covered in blood. He fell to the ground and stopped breathing. After that, there were 10 sounds of blades cutting across necks. Blood was everywhere, and the blade reflected a blood-red light under the moonlight. Out of the 16 assassins, 15 were dead or injured in an instant. The only remaining assassin was at the 4th rank, so he managed to avoid this calamity. However, his condition wasn't very good either. He clutched the wound on his chest and looked at the person in front of him in shock. He asked unwillingly, "Who are you? Why do you want to kill us?" Number 1 stood there, motionless. The blood on the blade kept dripping onto the stone, making a dripping sound. "I, Ling Feng, am the person who killed you." Number 1 repeated Ling Feng's words. Hearing this, the assassin of the 4th step asked in disbelief, "Impossible. What do you think? It's Ling Feng." Number 1 didn't respond to his frenzied emotions. He just stood there silently. "This is impossible. You're only at tier 2. How could you have killed so many of us?" I understand, you must have broken through to tier 3. At the end of his sentence, the assassin's face was filled with shock. To be able to break through to tier 3 at such a young age, though he actually only had an A.rank talent. After the assassin finished speaking, Number 1 slowly walked forward. The Tang sword in his hand glowed with a bloody light as if he was the god of death from hell. The assassin's face also turned serious. Since Ling Feng was able to kill the other 15 assassins, it meant that he definitely had the combat power comparable to a tier 4. He had to go all out in this battle, or else he would be drinking blood on the spot. "Dark stealth." The assassin growled. Then, a pitch-black shadow suddenly appeared from the ground and climbed onto his body, wrapping him up. At this moment, the assassin's attributes were increased by several times. However, the assassin was currently frantically searching for Ling Feng's main body. He had a premonition that Ling Feng's main body was definitely among these clones. Unfortunately, he was wrong. Ling Feng's original body was at least 100 meters away from here. Heart fire. Ling Feng ordered his clone. The clone did not hesitate and a violent flame appeared in the dark, and a pitch-black shadow appeared beside Number 3. Number 3 did not hesitate. He placed the Tang sword in his hand on the ground and instantly used his hands and feet to firmly lock the assassin in place. The assassin was shocked and shouted, "Hurry up and let go of me, you mother of God." His elbow kept hitting Number 3's body. The assassin would use all his strength to hit as long as it could hit, but Number 3 didn't care at all. He just held on to him with all his might. At this moment, the rest of the clones seemed to feel the same. They glared at the assassin and sent out energy slashes. The assassin looked at the dozen or so azure energy slashes that gradually formed a huge energy net. Even if he could break free, he would not be able to avoid this attack. Ah! More than a dozen energy slashes landed on the assassin's body. In an instant, he was covered in wounds. Even Number 3 could barely feel him struggling. However, Number 3 was still very dedicated to his work and locked the assassin down. The assassin's eyes had lost all life, as if he had gone mad. How could it be like this? He was clearly the assassin, but in the end, he was assassinated. This was simply a disgrace, a lifetime of disgrace. And now, he was actually going to die in shame. However, the clone didn't understand the assassin's thoughts. At the same time, it didn't want to understand either. It brought Number 3 with it and slashed down. The assassin's body split into two, and Number 3 turned into specks of starlight. If a clone died, it could be summoned again, but if an assassin died, it would be a real death. Then, Ling Feng looked at the assassins who were lying around. He didn't kill all of them just now. He left one alive so that he could ask some questions after the battle. Not long after, the clone carried an assassin over like a dead dog. His eyes were filled with fear, but he did not dare to speak. He threw it in front of Ling Feng. Ling Feng stood there and said in a condescending tone, "Tell me who put up the bounty, and I'll consider letting you live. Don't kill me, I beg you, don't kill me. I'll tell you everything I know. I only beg you to show mercy." The assassin knelt on the ground, his head touching the ground as he begged for mercy. Seeing this scene, Ling Feng's eyes showed a trace of disgust, but he still didn't make a move. Then, he slowly said, "It would be best if that's the case. Let me ask you, where did you guys get the mission?" "The dark market." Ling Feng didn't know much about the dark market. He only knew that it existed in the black market and only those who had successfully registered as an assassin could accept bounties there. It was similar to the Awakened Guild in that they offered bounties and rewards. However, their rewards were much more generous. The dark market was full of assassination missions that could not be exposed, so the rewards were more generous. Bai Xiaosa had already told Ling Feng that he had a bounty on his head, so this question wasn't his purpose. He just wanted to test if this assassin was honest. Now, he seemed to be quite honest. "How about this, I'll give you a mission. If you can complete it, I'll spare your life. How about it?" Ling Feng said indifferently. All right. Go ahead. I'll definitely complete it." The assassin seemed to have seen a ray of light as he endured the pain from his wound and said excitedly. Ling Feng bent down and whispered a few words into his ear, then stood up. The assassin didn't say anything and took out his phone. "All right, I'll send out the message now. I'll definitely make the other party come out. Please believe me, don't kill me." The assassin only wanted to live. After that, Ling Feng stood to the side and waited in boredom. How can I be sure that the dark market bounty is completed? That was, after the employer received the reward, he would come to confirm the corpse. This way, the reward would be received truthfully. If the corpse was brought back to Fantasy City, it would be detected by the city gate. Of course, it could also be that the assassin took a photo and sent it to the employer, but some employers didn't trust it, so there was a precedent of the employer checking it personally. The news was quickly received by the employer. At the same time, when Li Wu and Li Tsong saw the news, they were filled with joy. "I've succeeded. Let's go. I have to go out of the city to see his corpse. I have to spit on it and step on it a few times to relieve the hatred in my heart." The two of them knew that the dark market had put a bounty on 16 assassins, one of which was a tier 4. Hence, they did not believe that Ling Feng was still alive. He was only a stage 2, and his strongest combat strength was only at a normal stage 3. Li Tsong had a deep understanding of this. The two of them did not hesitate and directly ran out of the city. As the sky began to brighten, the two of them also arrived at Rocky Hill. However, they just happened to see the corpses lying on the ground and immediately had a bad feeling. However, when he thought about how he would be able to ruthlessly trample on Ling Feng's corpse in a moment, the bad premonition in his heart was thrown to the back of his mind. The two of them looked at the corpse on the ground and saw a person sitting on the stone. Just as they were about to walk up and ask, they took a closer look and saw that it was Ling Feng. "Hello, long time no see, you two." Ling Feng looked at the two of them without any expression on his face. "You're so silly. It's impossible. How are you still alive?" The two of them were instantly shocked. How was he still alive? That was 16 assassins, and there was even a tier 4 assassin following them. How did he do it? Only then did the two of them realize that the ground was full of the corpses, and that he had actually killed all of them. Even an S.Rank awakened could only fight a battle that was one level higher. At this time, a very terrifying thought entered the minds of the two. Could it be that he had broken through to the third rank? If he had Tier 3 combat power and his fusion skill, it would not be a problem for him to fight against a Tier 4 opponent. However, when they thought of this, the two of them looked a little embarrassed. Under such circumstances, he still called the two of them over. Could it be that he wanted to silence them? Ling Feng, I advise you to be kind. I have the Li family behind me. The Li family will not let you off if you dare to touch me. Li Wu also reacted and arrogantly pointed at him. Ling Feng, we hold no deep grudges. If we talk about this matter, it's indeed the two of us who are in the wrong. How about this, the two of us will apologize to you and compensate you with all our savings. What do you think? Li Tsong's tone was really gentle and even a little humble. However, Ling Feng only smiled faintly. I don't think so. After all, you guys have provoked me. If this news were to spread, I would lose face too. Ling Feng unsheathed the Tang Dao on his back. The blade glowed under the moonlight. All the clones swarmed forward. It was impossible for a Tier 1 and a Tier 3 combatant to hold their ground against more than a dozen Tier 3 clones. The two heads rolled together, but their bodies were on the other side. Ling Feng looked at Tang Dao with a pained expression. Unfortunately, the knife is dirty. Let's burn them, Ling Feng said to his clone, and then walked towards the direction of Fantasy City. As for the assassin who survived, Ling Feng didn't kill him. Instead, he cut off his 4 limbs and threw him in the cracks of the rocks. As for whether he lived or died, it was up to fate. Chapter 34. You are listening at novelfull.audio. By Xiaosha's departure, Ling Feng pushed open the door and sat down on the sofa with a tired face. He looked up at the ceiling and fell into a daze. Then, his watch rang. After opening it, he saw that it was a message from Bai Xiaosha, so he immediately clicked to check it. Ling Feng, where are you? I told my father to send someone to pick you up. Have you seen them? No need. Those assassins are already dead. Ah. How did they die? I killed him. After that, Ling Feng turned off his watch. On the other end, Bai Xiaosha was looking at his watch with a dumbfounded expression. Ah. You killed them. That's 16 assassins we're talking about, and one of them is a Tier 4 assassin. Even if you have more clones, you still have the advantage in numbers. But how did you kill an assassin of the 4th step? However, Bai Xiaosha quickly thought it through. He must have escaped. After all, he was someone who saved me before and is quite prideful. If he were to escape, he would definitely feel embarrassed. Yes, that must be it. Bai Xiaosha heaved a sigh of relief. Then, the door to his room opened, and his father walked in. I'm off to play. Ling Feng killed all the assassins, including Li Wu and Li Kang. In other words, he has completely offended the Li family. If the Li family finds out, they will definitely make a move on Ling Feng. But don't worry, I will protect his life. So, you still have to go to the academy. Bai Qianlang was also a little surprised. After all, Ling Feng's talent was only A. rank, and what he did was completely beyond what an A. rank could do. Even people with S. rank talent couldn't do it. However, this kind of thing was still done by Ling Feng, a kid with A. rank talent. This was simply too outrageous. Upon hearing this, Bai Xiaosha looked at Bai Qianlang in disbelief. Father, you're lying to me, right? Bai Qianlang sighed and said, just think that I'm lying to you. Hurry up and pack up. The seniors of the Void Academy will be here soon. You can leave with them today. Bai Xiaosha naturally understood the meaning behind his father's words. It was obvious that he was not lying to him. At that moment, a fighting spirit burned in his eyes. All right, I understand, father. Bai Xiaosa gritted his teeth. Seeing his son's fighting spirit, Bai Qianlang felt a trace of relief in his heart. He also had a good impression of Ling Feng, whom he had never met before. After all, it was a good thing that his son's fighting spirit had been aroused. He would not have to force his son to cultivate in the future. And the Bai family would need Bai Xiaosa to inherit it in the future. This was because Bai Xiaosa's talent was an extremely rare I-related talent, and what the Void Academy needed was a vision-related talent. Thus, when the Void Academy received the Bai family's admission application, it decided to accept this student, because Bai Xiaosa's heavenly eye was very suitable for the Void Academy. In addition, it was an S. rank, which also met the admission requirements. Although the Void Academy was ranked last among the top 10 academies, it was still one of the top 10. Therefore, when Bai Qianlang received the acceptance letter, he was so excited that he didn't sleep for the whole night. Most of the students in the school had I-related talents. Because there were few of them, the school didn't have high requirements for talent levels. Even so, not all students with A. rank perceptions could enter the academy. There was only a small chance. As for students with S. rank insight like Xiang Bai Xiaosa, they had a greater advantage and a higher chance of entering the school. After a while, an old man came to the Bai family. The old man was dressed in a long robe, and his white beard fluttered in the air. He had a sage-like aura. If one observed carefully, the old man's eyes were also different from ordinary people's. A faint red light appeared in his eye sockets, and his pupils were actually in the shape of a strange flower. The old man was called Longbeard. Senior Longbeard, this junior pays his respects. This child is my good. Nothing son. He is insensible, so I will hand him over to the academy today. Bai Qianlang's tone was full of respect. It's fine. We've both been through this since we were young. Besides, your son has this inner eye. His future achievements are bound to be limitless. You can relax. The long-bearded man stroked his beard and smiled. Upon hearing this, a smile appeared on Bai Qianlang's face. Then, he stretched his hand into the room and said, "Senior, please come to my humble home for a chat." "No need. I still have things to do at the academy. I'll definitely do it next time." "Alright, I'll send you off." Then, the long-bearded man looked at Bai Xiaosa, who was standing at the side and said kindly, "Child, pack up. We should leave, be calm, farewell." The long-bearded man waved his hand at Bai Qianlang and waved the horsetail whisk in his hand. The two of them were wrapped up in the whisk, and they turned into a stream of light and disappeared. All of a sudden, Bai Qianlang was the only one left. Bai Qianlang kept looking at the sky. Even though Bai Xiaosa had already disappeared, he didn't look away for a long time. Then, a smile appeared on his face. "Work hard, son. You must become strong." After saying that, Bai Qianlang waved his hand and turned around to walk into his room with a pot of wine in the other. As the cup fell, Bai Qianlang also felt a little tipsy, and the emptiness on his face disappeared, replaced by sleepiness. In the next few days, nothing major happened. No one found out that Li Wu and Li Tsong were killed. Ling Feng also heaved a sigh of relief. Even so, Ling Feng was still extremely cautious when he went out these days. He would disguise himself every time. Su Ranran had also gone into seclusion. Thinking about it carefully, Ling Feng had not seen her for a long time. Ling Feng no longer went to the wild to hunt alien races, because if he wanted to improve his combat power, he would need a huge amount of upgrade points. It wasn't worth it to waste so much time just to break through, so Ling Feng decided to learn more. As the saying goes, if you are a bootlicker, the goddess may not be yours, but if you study, the knowledge will definitely be yours. It's time to go to the school and do some research. Speaking of which, Ling Feng already had this idea when he was in the secret realm. However, he lacked the relevant knowledge and did not create a skill, so he could only give up. Now that he had a deeper understanding of the skill he wanted to create, he decided to go to school. As he walked towards the school, Ling Feng was thinking about the various factors of creating an elemental clone. Before he knew it, he had already arrived at the school gate. I understand now. In order to create an elemental clone, I must be able to freely transform my own energy into various elements. Therefore, I must first understand the essence of energy. Coincidentally, he had also reached the front of the library and placed his identity card on the examination platform. With a beep, Ling Feng also entered the library. Looking at the various books on the shelves, Ling Feng's goal was very clear. Any book that described energy would be in his hands. The books were stacked so high that Ling Feng couldn't even see the road clearly. Thus, he decided to go to the reading area to read these books. Suddenly, the doctor knocked on someone. Ling Feng lost his balance, and the book in his hand fell. Fortunately, he was quick to react and caught the book. Oh! It hurts. A girl was squatting on the ground, holding her head. Seeing this, Ling Feng looked at the girl worriedly and said with some guilt, "Are you all right?" The girl squatted on the ground and glanced at Ling Feng. Then, she continued to hold her head and whimpered, "There's something. There's something." She stood up and put her hands on her waist. Just as she was about to say something, she suddenly felt a sharp pain in her head. It was so painful that she immediately covered her head. Seeing this, Ling Feng also smiled and said, "Then what should I do? Should I give you a massage?" "Don't." After all, this was Ling Feng's fault, so he wasn't impatient at all. However, he didn't want to say it because this girl's body was too small. Even if she stood up, her height only reached Ling Feng's chin. No wonder she could hit her. "Then what should we do?" "You can't possibly ask for money, right? What do you think I am? Am I that kind of person?" The girl seemed to have suddenly become angry. Then, the scene changed rapidly. "If you give me 3,000 star coins, I can consider forgiving you." The girl smiled. "Are you a scammer? Don't block my way." Hearing this, Ling Feng decided not to continue the conversation and nudged her. Who would have thought that before Ling Feng's hand could even touch the girl had already fallen to the ground. Before Ling Feng could react, the girl continued, Why are you bullying me?" The library was a quiet place. The commotion naturally attracted the attention of many people, and they all looked over. When they saw such an adorable girl lying on the ground crying, everyone immediately began to blame Ling Feng. "What's wrong with you? She's so cute, and you're bullying her. Which class are you from? Report it." "Ah. He looks like Ling Feng. Wait. It's actually Ling Feng." Chapter 35. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Have you learned it? The girl was called Feng Xiaoyu. Feng Xiaoyu's eyes lit up when she heard the discussions around her. She didn't expect to meet a famous person. "You're a celebrity too?" Seeing that Ling Feng didn't answer her and instead turned around to leave, she continued to shout, "Hey, where are you going?" When the surrounding people saw this scene, they didn't dare to discuss it loudly anymore or criticize Ling Feng for doing something wrong. Ling Feng's reputation was simply too resounding. After all, this was a student who dared to beat up a teacher. More importantly, he had even beaten him before. Who could he reason with? Besides, he had Su Ranran to back him up. No one dared to find trouble with him. Therefore, everyone was silent. Ling Feng did not put this group of people in his eyes. They were just a group of people who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Ling Feng walked towards the nearest reading spot, ignoring Feng Xiaoyu's words. Feng Xiaoyu was also not easy to send away. Seeing that Ling Feng did not answer her, her big eyes rolled around. Then, she came up with a plan and was ready to follow. "Hey, wait for me." As she spoke, Feng Xiaoyu got up from the ground and jogged to keep up with Ling Feng's pace. The people around them were about to follow and watch the show, but the late librarian stopped them. "What are you guys doing here? This is the library, not your family's market. Hurry up and go back to your books. If you don't want to read, then get out." Sure enough, after the librarian's persuasion, the people who were watching the show dispersed. However, they had many thoughts in their hearts. Why could Ling Feng speak loudly, but she couldn't? What a difference in treatment. However, no one dared to say it out loud. After all, when Ling Feng's strength was there for all to see, what could they use to compete? He had no choice but to endure it. At this moment, Ling Feng had also arrived at a reading area. He placed the book in his hand on the table and turned around. "What do you want? You've been following me. Hee, I saw your book. You're reading all the knowledge that can only be learned at university. You must be studying the university courses. It just so happens that I know a lot about this. I can teach you." Feng Xiaoyu said with a smile, completely unlike her previous self. "If you're not lying to me, that's fine too." Ling Feng looked at Feng Xiaoyu. "Of course, I will." Feng Xiaoyu raised her head and puffed out her chest, full of pride. Then, she continued, "However, it's 1,000 star coins an hour. What do you think?" Hearing this, Ling Feng did not say a word. He only rolled his eyes at Feng Xiaoyu, then opened a book and began to read. Feng Xiaoyu wasn't discouraged. She sat down beside Ling Feng and took a look at the title of the book he was reading. Then, she leaned over and started reading together. The relationship between talent and energy. Ling Feng's brows were tightly furrowed as he looked at the book. The book had many questions, but it did not explain them. Moreover, the contents of the book were completely different from what was written in the book. Sometimes, the first sentence and the next sentence didn't even match. This angered Ling Feng even more. According to the book, energy came from the world. It was an extremely special energy produced by the combination of the world's energy and the human body's energy. The special energy was born with the awakening of talent, and all skills were based on it, just like how a car needed gasoline to start. However, the book did not mention where the energy of heaven and earth came from, much less where the human body's energy came from. As if it was possible, he only gave a general idea. Ling Feng even threw the book away. Seeing Ling Feng's expression, Feng Xiaoyu also smiled. Her chance had come. Then, he puffed out his chest and said, "Don't you understand? The so-called energy of the world comes from that place. The energy of the human body comes from that place." Feng Xiaoyu purposely didn't say it out loud in order to pique Ling Feng's interest. However, Ling Feng was not attracted at all. He put the book aside as if he wanted to find the answer from the other books. Feng Xiaoyu did not keep him in suspense anymore. Instead, she pouted angrily and said, "Forget it. You're lucky today. But I'm only going to say it once. The energy of heaven and earth comes from the heavens. 1,000 years ago, the heavens and the realms were connected to the blue star. Since then, the blue star has undergone great changes. The energy has gathered together and changed, giving birth to the energy of heaven and earth. This kind of energy is extremely useful. Not only can it drive talent skills, but it can also drive out other cultivation techniques in the myriad world. The only shortcoming is that it can't be used to awaken talents. It must be combined with the soul energy of the human body. After the fusion of the two types of energy, with the help of the awakening divine jade, humans can awaken their innate abilities. These few things are indispensable. So, this is the relationship between talent and energy." Ling Feng nodded thoughtfully and put the book down. If what Feng Xiaoyu said was true, then she must have already mastered the knowledge in the book. However, Ling Feng did not praise Feng Xiaoyu. Instead, he took out a dozen star coins and placed them on the table. She said to Ling Feng, "Thank you for your explanation. This is 1,000 star coins." Feng Xiaoyu's eyes lit up when she saw the star coins. She held them in her hand like a starving woman that suddenly saw a Manchu Han imperial feast. She sniffed the coins continuously and even clapped his hands. Ling Feng sighed at how greedy she was. Stuffing the star currency into her pocket, Feng Xiaoyu's gaze towards Ling Feng turned gentle. "Don't worry. As long as you don't understand something, feel free to ask me, and I will tell you everything I know. Oh, right, let me remind you, these books are all tailor books. The more you read, the more you won't understand." After Ling Feng heard this, he flipped through a few more books and found that the problems were the same as the first book. He threw out the problems but did not solve them. Ling Feng nodded. "Then let me ask you a question. Can the energy in the human body be converted into other attributes?" Ling Feng completely gave up on the idea of finding an answer from the book and turned to look at Feng Xiaoyu. "Of course, you can. The energy of heaven and earth doesn't have a consciousness. However, the human body's energy is a combination of your soul energy. Naturally, it also contains your consciousness. You only need to share this part of your soul energy and then guide the energy in the human body to change attributes. That's all. But it'll be very difficult because this is a course that only second-year students will come into contact with," Feng Xiaoyu thought for a while and said. After hearing this, Ling Feng finally came to a realization. The layers of packaging in his heart were completely shattered, and the door at the very front had already opened a small gap. All he needed to do was to push the door open, and everything would be solved. Ling Feng slowly closed his eyes and began to communicate with the energy in his body. The human body's energy contained his own soul's energy. He needed to take this opportunity to connect with his own human body's energy waves and change the attribute of the energy. Thinking of this, Ling Feng simulated shooting flames in his mind. At the moment the flames spewed out, the human body's energy was converted to the fire attribute, but it quickly returned to normal. He could feel it, but he could not grasp it. Ling Feng worked harder and harder. Because of his experience in controlling the avatar, he was surprised to find that this will was actually like the will of an avatar. Energy conversion. Immediately, Ling Feng's body turned a fiery red. He also opened his eyes, and a small flame appeared on his finger. At this time, Feng Xiaoyu, who was still thinking about how to trick Ling Feng into earning more money, suddenly felt a warm sensation in front of her. Upon close inspection, it was actually a flame. Feng Xiaoyu was dumbfounded. She gasped in disbelief, "That's impossible. How did you learn it? I must be dreaming." Chapter 36. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Fire clone Ling Feng released the flames from his fingertips. Ling Xiaoyu looked at him in disbelief. No matter how much she didn't want to believe it, it had really happened in front of her eyes. Ling Feng had successfully changed his body's energy into his own attribute. Furthermore, he was able to complete the energy conversion with only a part of his explanation. According to Feng Xiaoyu's understanding, not everyone, even university students, could learn how to convert human energy into attributes. It could be said that too many people were blocked outside the threshold of this step. There were even many people who could not undergo energy conversion even after graduating from university. From this, one could see how difficult this step was, but Ling Feng had done it. "How did you learn it so quickly? Did you learn to tease me a long time ago?" Feng Xiaoyu looked at him in disbelief. On the other hand, Ling Feng did not say anything and only smiled faintly. He was also very happy that she could learn it so quickly, but he did not have the intention to laugh at Feng Xiaoyu. "If you think you have a lot of time, then it's not impossible. By the way, are you in need of money?" Ling Feng asked. He could tell that the girl's clothes were indeed a little tattered, and he could also feel that there was no energy fluctuation on her body, so she was definitely not a third-year student. They were either in their first or second year of high school and had not yet awakened their talents, so they could not receive the subsidy. Hearing this, Feng Xiaoyu also forgot about the unbelievable thing that had happened to Ling Feng just now. Her eyes instantly lit up. I am indeed short of money because my sister needs money to treat. You've helped me so much. Tell me, how much do you need? I'll lend you. Ling Feng also smiled. He had completed a lot of missions these days, so he didn't have to worry about food and water. His balance was in the millions. No matter what, he could be considered a rich man. In addition, he had learned how to convert energy today, so he was in a very good mood. However, if the girl asked for an exorbitant price, he would definitely not stay and would turn around to leave. Just because he was in a good mood didn't mean he was a sucker. Hearing this, Feng Xiaoyu's expression became nervous and excited. She tentatively raised 3 fingers and said with a little embarrassment, "My sister needs 30,000 yuan." After that, her eyes became cautious, and she no longer had the impudence he had just now. After Ling Feng heard this, he was a little stunned. He thought that this girl would take this opportunity to demand an exorbitant price. After all she said was star dollars. It turned out that Ling Feng had misunderstood her. He didn't expect that it would only cost 30,000 yuan. To the current him, this could be said to be a drizzle. Moreover, the help she had given him was far more than the value of the 3,000 star coins, even if this knowledge would be learned at university in the future. However, it was not a bad thing to master it in advance. Alright, give me your card number. Upon hearing this, Feng Xiaoyu was stunned. Ah! You're ready to give me money just like that? That's 30,000 yuan. Even if she was working part-time, it would take her at least 3 years to save up enough money. Ling Feng's back view was instantly elevated in Feng Xiaoyu's eyes. He was a good person. However, Feng Xiaoyu felt a little guilty when she thought of how she had tried to get him to pay for her lessons, but she still gave him her card number. Ling Feng turned on his watch, fiddled with it, and 30,000 star coins were transferred. Feng Xiaoyu's eyes were filled with excitement when she saw the 30,000 star coins in her balance. She did not forget to thank Ling Feng. Thank you so much. It's fine. Just take it as your lecture fee. We don't owe each other anything anymore, Ling Feng said with a smile. He didn't ask the girl to return the money. Instead, he said that he would give the money to her as payment for the lesson. However, the girl didn't think so. She thought that he had borrowed it. Feng Xiaoyu didn't continue to stay there. Now that she had the medical fees, she couldn't hold back the excitement in her heart when she thought about her sister, who was still seriously ill at home. Ling Feng had nothing else to do, so he turned around and left. Feng Xiaoyu watched as Ling Feng left, then turned around and left the school. After a while, Feng Xiaoyu jogged back home. In the living room there was an older girl sitting in the living room. She was smiling, but she was a little pale. Xiaoyu, you're back. I'm back, sister. I have a piece of good news. Do you want to hear it? Feng Xiaoyu excitedly threw herself into Feng Xiaoyun's arms and rubbed against her. Then, she raised her head and said, "What good news? Look at that money. Crazy smile on your face, you can't possibly have picked up the money, right?" Upon hearing this, Feng Xiaoyu immediately stood up and pouted as she complained, "What? I'm not a money. Grubber, I met a good person today. He actually lent me 30,000 star coins." "What? Xiaoyu, tell me the truth, are you?" Feng Xiaoyun's tone was serious. However, Feng Xiaoyu stomped her feet and said angrily, "Sister. What do you take me for? I'm giving a lecture to someone else, and that person lent it to me. He didn't ask me for interest, and he didn't say when I'll return it to him. But I'll definitely return it to him." After that, Feng Xiaoyu told her sister about what had happened today as if she was telling a story. Of course, she did not mention that she had fallen and hit a porcelain vase. It was not that she did not dare to say it, but there was no need for her to be embarrassed. After hearing that, Feng Xiaoyun heaved a sigh of relief. Feng Xiaoyu was lucky. That person was just one step away from breaking through the last layer of paper window, and Feng Xiaoyu just happened to help him. Feng Xiaoyun could understand his joy. After all, the excitement of increasing one's strength couldn't be compared to any other emotion. Let alone 30,000, even if Feng Xiaoyu asked for 300,000, Ling Feng wouldn't be stingy. However, it would all depend on Feng Xiaoyu's luck. If she met a rich man, she would naturally not even blink. However, if she met a poor man, then there was no way. Alright, sister, we have enough money now. We can treat your illness. A smile appeared on Feng Xiaoyun's face as well. She rubbed her head and said, alright, let's go. To tell the truth, Feng Xiaoyun was also very eager to regain her ability to walk. Her legs had been crippled 5 years ago, and now that 5 years had passed, she didn't know if they could be cured. At this time, Ling Feng had also returned home. He didn't sit on the sofa to rest but instead stood there as if he hadn't had enough and prepared. Then, a white light flashed, and 20 clones appeared in the room. The room was filled with them. Seeing this scene, Ling Feng had another idea. Buying a house. Brother Alliance, let's work hard together to earn money to buy a villa. Ling Feng clenched his fist and shouted. Ling Feng knew that these were his clones. What he said to them was equivalent to saying it to himself. After all, they were all extensions of his consciousness and did not have independent personalities. Immediately, Ling Feng closed his eyes and communicated with the energy in his body, changing it to the fire attribute. A fiery red energy instantly filled his entire body as he recalled a clone from the outside world. The memory of the clone appeared in his mind, but he did not choose it. Instead, he prepared to release the clone based on the memory. With this thought in mind, the fiery red energy in his body began to return to its original state, just like the lava in the ground. Not only did Ling Feng feel hot and stuffy in his body, but his body was also constantly releasing steam. In this state, it was much more difficult to release a clone than in his normal state. However, Ling Feng didn't give up. The harder it was, the stronger the final result would be. Moreover, after Ling Feng tested and familiarized himself with it many times, the difficulty level was also continuously decreasing. The speed at which he released it also began to slowly increase. At this time, he began to try to release a fire clone. Perhaps it was because it was his first time, but during the process of releasing it, he felt as if his body had been emptied. He felt dizzy, and his body felt empty. Then, fatigue, hunger, and all kinds of negative effects swept through his body. Ling Feng forced himself to shake his head, then once again released a fire clone. As his proficiency level increased, a fiery red mark appeared in his mind. Success. With a thought, the fiery red mark in Ling Feng's mind flashed, and a different clone appeared in front of him. This person looked exactly like Ling Feng. The only difference was that he had fiery red hair, fiery red clothes, and even his eyes were fiery red. The fire clone stood there, unmoving, its eyes blank. Even so, the temperature around the fire clone had risen quite a bit. Ling Feng's eyes were filled with joy. He had finally succeeded in summoning a fire clone. Chapter 37. You are listening at novelfull.audio. New news. However, the fire clone also had its shortcomings, one of which was that it consumed a lot of energy. However, because of the relatively large consumption, its own ability was also very powerful. The fire clone also had a few special abilities. The first was to be immune to a small portion of fire attribute damage. The second was to increase the power of fire attribute skills by about 1/3. The third was that all normal attacks carried fire attribute damage. The last one was the one that Ling Feng was most surprised about. However, its weakness was also obvious. It was restrained by the water and ice attributes. This was understandable. After all, the 5 stars were complementary to each other. Ling Feng was very satisfied with his own combat strength. With the energy in his body, he could only summon a fire clone at most. Although it was not much, it was enough. Next, he was ready to try summoning a clone with other attributes. Since he was already able to convert his human energy to the fire attribute, it was only a matter of time before he converted it to other attributes. Ling Feng closed his eyes and tried to communicate with his spiritual energy. He wanted to change it to another attribute, but after a series of attempts, Ling Feng opened his eyes again. He frowned. It was too slow. Suddenly, Ling Feng understood. He could summon the fire clone so quickly because he had a fire attribute skill, which was flame spitting. Thus, he didn't need to simulate the transformation of human energy attribute to the fire attribute, because when he released this skill, he could already transform it to the fire attribute, but he just couldn't grasp it. In other words, instead of wasting time by fumbling around, it would be better for Ling Feng to find a skill with an attribute. This way, he would be able to learn a clone with the corresponding attribute in a very short time. At the thought of this, Ling Feng recalled all his clones and walked out of the door. After a while, he arrived at the black market. Naturally, he disguised himself. After all, it was really chaotic there. The black market was located below a bar. The bar was full of red and green lights, full of young men and women jumping around, but if you walked in for a while, you would find that it was very quiet inside. Inside was the real black market. People were in a hurry, each wearing a mask to hide their identity. In the black market, many things were illegal. Therefore, in order to protect the buyers and sellers, this rule was set up. Walking in, Ling Feng unconsciously tightened the mask on his face before walking further in. There were street stalls on both sides of the road, which looked like a market in the village. However, the things sold here were all kinds of. There were antiques and some materials from other races. After walking for a long time, Ling Feng found a stall selling skill crystals. He walked up to it. "Boss, do you have any attribute crystals?" The boss was wearing a black robe and was about the same height as Ling Feng, but with a hunched back. Hearing Ling Feng speak to him, he also replied, "There's one, but I'm sorry, it's already reserved." His voice was extremely hoarse. Hearing this, Ling Feng felt that it was a pity, but he continued, "How much did he pay?" "I can pay more." After all, skill crystals were rare and could only be found if one was lucky. If one was unlucky, even if one went deeper into the black market, one might not necessarily find a stall selling skill crystals at the end of the road. This was because the drop rate of skill crystals was too low. After the black-robed boss heard this, he didn't say anything but fell into deep thought. Seeing this, Ling Feng also saw a glimmer of hope. Perhaps this boss just wanted to see his determination to buy. "Can you let me see what skill it is?" Ling Feng continued to ask. "No, I can't. I promised the buyer that I would keep the contents of the crystal a secret," the black-robed man quickly said. Ling Feng was a little speechless. If this was the wilderness, Ling Feng would have already fought with someone who teased him like this. However, this was the black market. He couldn't do it. And the buyer that the black-robed boss mentioned was most likely made up to scam him of some money. This kind of situation was simply too common in the black market. "Anyway, you don't know me, and I don't know you. Today I lied to you. Tomorrow, I will change my mask and enter the black market, and you won't recognize me. Then tell me, how much do you want to sell it to me?" Ling Feng asked. 300,000. The black-robed boss thought for a while and then said. Hearing this price, Ling Feng actually had the mentality of picking up a bargain. One must know that skill crystal's market price was only 300,000, and this was where everyone was fighting for it. Therefore, the price of 300,000 yuan was not particularly high. He observed the black-robed boss in front of him. His combat power was not very strong. Otherwise, he would not have spent so much time and effort to ask for only 300,000 yuan. I'll be honest with you. I sold it to you because you look familiar, unlike some other buyers who target the seller after buying it. In the end, the seller will lose both money and money. The black-robed boss said. Ling Feng finally understood that the boss was afraid of being betrayed. Because his combat power was too weak, he would rather sell the crystal to a small figure than a big figure. You're quite cautious, aren't you? Ling Feng said with a smile. You'll die if you're not careful. The black market is not as dirty as you think. It's even dirtier than you think. The black-robed boss's tone was full of resentment, as if he had experienced being robbed. All right, where are the things? Ling Feng said impatiently. After all, the boss had just toyed with him. Here you go. The black-robed boss saw that Ling Feng was not willing to listen to his nagging, so he stopped talking and threw the skill crystal in his hand to Ling Feng. Ling Feng also transferred his star dollars over. Then, he held the skill crystal tightly and checked what attribute the skill was. Swamp. Consumes energy to create a swamp. No wonder it was sold so cheaply. It was not a good skill, it was of little value. Why is your skill so useless? Ling Feng glared at the boss in the black robe angrily. This skill had no attack power, and it didn't even have any defense power. It wasn't even worthy of being a support skill. The black-robed boss cupped his hands as if it had nothing to do with him. Kid, this is the black market. You have to open your eyes wide when buying things. This time, you've spent money to buy a lesson. Looking at the black-robed boss's indifferent look, Ling Feng was getting angrier and angrier. Ling Feng stared at the black-robed boss's mask as if he wanted to do something. Hey, don't do anything. This is the black market. If you do, you might be caught. The black-robed boss was frightened by Ling Feng's gaze and took a step back. Why would I do anything to you? I should be the one thanking you. After saying that, Ling Feng turned around and left. The black-robed boss also let out a sigh of relief. However, when Ling Feng walked out of the black market, he left behind a fire clone. I won't do anything, but the fire clone has a bad temper. I'm not sure if he will do anything. The fire clone was completely red, and the temperature around him was rising. Walking in the black market, he attracted people's attention. He walked to the boss in black. The boss saw that someone was coming and was about to continue bluffing, but a fist hit him. F***CK, why are you hitting people? As soon as he finished speaking, a few more punches landed on the boss's face. With burn injuries, the boss was also in great pain. Hey, my nose. My mouth. Who asked you to use tricks? Who asked you to trick people? As he fought, the fire clone cursed. The movement was very loud, and soon the patrol team came over with their weapons. The fire clone naturally noticed it, and Ling Feng quickly came into contact with it, turning it into a wisp of fire and dissipating. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the fire clone disappeared. The boss in the black robe also raised his head. He was chubby and looked like he was only 18 or 19 years old. Damn it, don't you know that you shouldn't hit someone's face? The black-robed youth covered his face that was covered in scars. Not long after, Ling Feng also returned home and began to learn how to create a water clone. Because of the fire clone's experience, the water clone was quickly mastered by Ling Feng, and a blue mark appeared in his mind. The water clone, on the other hand, was dressed in blue. His hair and eyes were also blue, forming a sharp contrast with the fire clone. I've gained quite a lot today. I've learned how to split my body with 2 attributes. Ling Feng didn't know why, but he really wanted to fight with someone. It would be best if it were an opponent who was on par with him. This way, he would be more carefree and unrestrained. At this moment, her watch suddenly beeped. In the group chat of the students of the 3 high schools of Fantasy City. Hey, did you guys know that Shurifeng, the SS class awakened from the 2nd high school, has broken through to Tier 3? He even said that he would defeat all the 3rd year students in the illusory city. I heard that Lu Huan, the SS class awakened from the 1st high school, has already been defeated. I've heard that Shurifeng's talent is Earth. He can control Earth and some brocade to attack his enemies. He's very strong. That can't be. Doesn't that mean that his next target is Su Ranran? That's right. I think it's possible. Isn't Su Ranran publicly acknowledged as the strongest SS. Rank awakened? Chapter 38. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The challenge of the 2nd high. Seeing this news, Ling Feng didn't think too much. No matter how strong an SS. Rank genius was, it had nothing to do with him, an A. Rank awakened. However, since Su Ranran was involved in this matter, Ling Feng did not know if she would accept the challenge. However, Ling Feng knew that Su Ranran was currently in seclusion and probably did not know about this. This matter quickly spread throughout the 3 high schools, and everyone was talking about it. It also became the biggest melon in the entire Fantasy City, and a group of people who didn't mind the drama ate it with great relish. Seeing this situation, Ling Feng also wanted to ask what the person in question was thinking. He immediately sent a message to Su Ranran, but it was like a rock in the sea. There was no reply. She must still be in seclusion, Ling Feng muttered to himself. Then, he decided not to care about this matter anymore and decided to leave the city. After a while, Ling Feng arrived at the Awakened Guild and saw a mission more suitable for him. Mission: explore the ruins 50 kilometers south of Fantasy City and draw a map of it. Reward: 500,000 star coins. Asterisk requirement: Tier 3 awakened. It just so happened that he had also reached Tier 3, so he could accept this mission. After some thought, Ling Feng accepted the mission and walked out of the city. At 2nd high, Shurifeng was sitting on a stone platform, and below the platform was a group of underlings. These underlings were all looking at him with fawning expressions. Suddenly, Shurifeng stood up. He raised his arms and shouted, I, Shurifeng, am definitely the strongest SS. Rank in this illusory city. I will definitely let the Elemental Academy know that choosing Su Ranran was a mistake and that choosing me was the right choice. It's obvious that they were wrong. You, come here. Use my name to issue a challenge to Su Ranran. Shurifeng pointed at one of his underlings, who walked over with his back bent. He quickly echoed, all right, big brother. Big brother is awesome. What Su Ranran? She has to keep her tail between her legs in front of Big Brother. One of the underlings, who understood the ways of the world, shouted. As expected, after hearing these words, a trace of pride appeared on Shurifeng's face. He looked at the person and gave him a thumbs up. Not bad. You have a bright future. Shurifeng held his head high. In addition to the fact that he had just defeated Lu Huan, Shurifeng was currently in a state of jealousy and excitement, and his confidence was also extremely inflated. In his heart, the number 1 SS. Rank in Fantasy City was definitely his. Adding on the fact that his underlings were constantly praising Shurifeng, the current Shurifeng was being praised to the clouds. At this time, a figure came from the distance and attracted everyone's attention. The person was getting closer and closer, and everyone made way for him. They started discussing. Who is this guy? Aren't you from the 3rd high school? Why are you at our 2nd high school? You probably don't know about this, but during the previous Beast Tide, this guy betrayed his classmates and caused the death of one of them. He was expelled from the 3rd high school. I don't know why he's here at our 2nd high school. Ah. No way, how can such a person come to our 2nd high school? His character is obviously not good. You don't know about it, do you? There's an innate ability called the ability to make money. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. What kind of innate ability is this? That's enough. He paid to get in. Also, this person's background is not simple. His name is Li Fang, and he has the Li family behind him, even though he is only a direct descendant of the Li family. Hearing this, everyone finally understood. They could only enter the second high school because they were from the Li family. Otherwise, the second high school would definitely not accept them based on their character. If Ling Feng was here, he would definitely recognize this person at a glance. He was Li Fang, the man who had once tried to pursue Su Ranran. The previous beast tide was indeed very dangerous, but everyone chose to fight with all their might. Only Li Fang did not use his full strength. Furthermore, he even sacrificed a student in order to escape. Otherwise, Li Fang would definitely not have been able to escape. On the other hand, Li Fang thought that this group was dead for sure. By then, his career wouldn't be exposed for sacrificing a classmate for his own safety. He could even fight for the reputation of a hero. Unfortunately, his sudden appearance disrupted all his plans. Not only did he save everyone, but he was also expelled from the school. Because of this incident, Li Fang not only hated Su Ranran and the others, but he also hated Ling Feng. If Ling Feng had not suddenly appeared, he would not be in such a sorry state. Now, as long as Li Feng thought about Ling Feng's appearance, he would be filled with hatred. Also, Li Tsong and Li Wu's sudden disappearance caused some people in the family to guess that the two of them had met with an accident. To the Li family, Li Tsong wasn't too important. Even if he had Tier 3 combat power, he only had AB. Rank talent. However, Li Wu was different. Li Wu was an A. Grade talent awakened. If he was to grow up in the future, he would definitely become the pillar of the Li family. Therefore, the Li family had been investigating this matter, but they had no leads. Hence, no matter what, Ling Feng's name had always been on the Li family's kill list. However, if they wanted to kill Ling Feng, they could only do so outside the city. After all, there were too many people in the city, and the city gate would detect them. However, it was too difficult to kill Ling Feng. They had to set up an ambush outside the city in advance. Moreover, Ling Feng was too cautious. Every time he left the city, he would send a few of them out at once. It was fine if he didn't know which one was the main body. The key was that the main body and the clone acted separately. You couldn't tell which was the main body, and with him acting separately, there was no way to make a move. If he were to act rashly, Ling Feng would definitely sense it. What if he cherished his life and did not come out in the future? Therefore, every assassination attempt failed. However, when Li Feng saw Shuri Feng defeat Lu Huan in his insufferably arrogant state, he suddenly had a plan in mind. He then met with Shuri Feng in private and gave him a large sum of money. He only needed him to challenge Ling Feng and kill him. Shuri Feng naturally wouldn't refuse such a simple task that could even earn him a large sum of money. Moreover, Ling Feng was only an A. Grade talent awakened. Even if he was accidentally killed in the arena, Shuri Feng would not be held accountable. After all, his talent was there for all to see. He couldn't possibly punish an SS. Rank just for the life of an A. Rank, could he? This was a complete accident. Challenging Su Ranran was Shuri Feng's ultimate goal, so getting rid of Ling Feng while he was at it was not a big deal. He did not even need to get serious. If he could defeat the SS. Rank Lu Huan, then wouldn't the A. Rank Ling Feng be able to handle him? Li Feng leaned his head over and whispered a few words. A hint of impatience appeared on Shuri Feng's face, and he said, "You didn't manage to contact Su Ranran." "That's right. I heard that she's in closed-door cultivation. It seems like she's trying to break through to Tier 3, Li Feng said. "If that's the case, I'll wait for her to break through before I defeat her. I don't want to be called an unfair winner. I'll wait until she breaks through Tier 3 before I defeat her." Only then will I be worthy of Tier 1 SS. Rank. Shuri Feng's face revealed a confident smile. One of his underlings immediately echoed, Big Brother is mighty. Big Brother is the strongest. Seeing this scene, it would be a lie to say that Li Fong wasn't envious, but he was mostly ridiculed. He also understood Shuri Feng's background. He was born into a poor family, so he regarded money as his life. After awakening the SS.level talent, he began to become arrogant and looked down on everyone. He was a tyrant in the number 2 high school. However, the entire school did not dare to voice out their anger. Even the teachers did not dare to say anything. Li Fong was indeed envious of him, but he also looked down on him. He was envious of his talent and looked down on his character. He was arrogant and domineering, and he would directly attack if he was not convinced. In Li Fong's eyes, this was the behavior of a reckless man. In his mind, it was the most fun thing to do. Especially when you did it behind his back, but he didn't know who did it and treated you as his own. Since Su Ranran is in closed-door cultivation, why don't you challenge all the S.rank awakened in the 3 high schools and defeat them all? Beat them up until they're afraid of you. Then, create some hype and wait for her to come out of her closed-door cultivation. If you defeat her, you'll be able to soar into the sky. It's fine if she doesn't accept the challenge. You can challenge the A.rank and get rid of Ling Fong at the same time. Su Ranran will have no choice but to make a move. Even if she doesn't want to do it, public opinion will force her to do it. Li Fong said expressionlessly. Hearing these words, a smile appeared on Shuri Feng's face. This plan wasn't very brilliant, but it was indeed very sinister. What a good scheme. You're really my crouching dragon. Li Fong forced a smile on his face and said, No. It's all thanks to Big Brother's strong charisma. Otherwise, I wouldn't have joined you. Soon, another challenge letter was sent to the 3 high schools. Su Ranran didn't even respond. This gave another group of people an opportunity to hype up the matter. Su Ranran was hyped up as a coward. Since Su Ranran doesn't dare to fight me, I wonder if the S.rank awakened from the 3 high schools can fight me. I can fight all of you by myself. The declaration of war was extremely arrogant. Naturally, the 3 S.ranks saw it and were immediately enraged. Who the hell is this Shuri Feng? You still dare to compare yourself to Su Ranran? That's right, Su Ranran was a student who was admitted in advance by Elemental College, one of the top 10 colleges. Both of them are Elemental-type awakeners, but he wasn't recruited. From this, we can see that the gap between the two of them is huge. Since he wants to challenge us, we can't lose face. Battle. Right. Damn it, isn't it just an SS.rank? What's there to be arrogant about? Let's fight. Even if I can't beat her, I'll hold on. When Su Ranran comes out of seclusion, I'll let him avenge us. Right, even if we lose, we won't be embarrassed. Chapter 39. You are listening at Novelfull.audio. The massacre in the ruins. At this time, outside the city, Ling Fong had also arrived at the ruins about 100 miles south of Fantasy City. This place seemed to be an abandoned town. With a pen and paper in his hands, he walked while drawing a map of the ruins of the old city. He was earnest until a beeping sound interrupted his thoughts. His watch beeped. Ling Fong opened it curiously and found a message from the class group. Second High, Shuri Feng. Ling Fong had also heard of this name. He used to be a low-key person with only 4 walls and was often bullied by others. However, he became arrogant and overbearing ever since he awakened his SS.rank talent. He had become someone who would take revenge for grievances, even returning kindness with ingratitude. In a short period, he had become the overlord of the second high school, and no one dared to say anything. Many students had become his underlings, and even the teachers treated him with respect. This allowed Shuri Feng to feel the power of his talent and strength. Therefore, he didn't waste his talent but relied on his SS.level talent to cultivate hard, and his realm was constantly breaking through. Coupled with the people's praise, his mentality also began to swell. Hence, after breaking through to Tier 3, he challenged Lu Huan. Lu Huan was no match for him, and Shuri Feng was even more insufferably arrogant. He felt that no one in the world was a match for him, so he turned his spear to Su Ranran. However, Su Ranran was currently in seclusion and did not know what was happening outside. Thinking of this, Ling Feng's brows furrowed. When Su Ranran comes out of her closed-door cultivation, this clown will be more honest. Ling Feng said indifferently. This matter wouldn't affect him. Even if Shuri Feng had challenged an S.rank student from the 3 high schools, he couldn't possibly challenge an A.rank student as an SS. Rank student, right? Therefore, Ling Feng decided to take this opportunity to improve his combat power or talent. Only by becoming stronger would he have the right to speak. After that, Ling Feng turned off his watch and turned his attention back to the ruins of the old city. Even though there were many monsters in the ruins, Ling Feng had 20 clones. So they split into 4 groups and continued to clear the monsters. This had once been a modern city before the invasion of the alien races. Because of this, the attack of the heavenly energy caused the town to change dramatically, and the plants also grew wildly. The skyscrapers began to shake overnight, falling one by one. The most important thing was not the plants but the mutated animals. Their bodies had grown several times more extensive, and their numbers had increased by dozens. As the monsters grew, their appetites grew, and they began to attack humans for food. There were too many of them, and it was impossible to kill them all. Moreover, the monsters did not have any intelligence, to begin with, and they only knew how to take revenge. Seeing their kind killed, their eyes naturally turned red. He charged forward as if he didn't care about his life. Under the monsters' attack, the humans could only choose to give up on this place. So some of them went 100 miles away and built Fantasy City. This was the story of the old ruins. At this moment, a sewer appeared in front of them. Ling Feng sent a part of his clone into the sewer, killing rats and cockroaches. After these animals mutated into monsters, their combat strength increased rapidly. They were comparable to a Tier 1 mutant. Their numbers were even more terrifying as they rushed over overwhelmingly. Ling Feng didn't hesitate at all. Instead, he just waved his blade as he walked forward. After a while, the monster's roar suddenly reached Ling Feng's ears. He immediately felt something was wrong and ordered his clone to swing his sword to the ground quickly. He walked forward, and a shop appeared in his sight. He pushed the door open, and it was a mess inside. There was not a single item on the shelf because the shelves had all fallen to the ground. He turned and saw the rats rushing towards him in great numbers. F***ck, why does this rat hold such a grudge? Ling Feng grumbled. After that, his main body found a place to hide in the distance, and he ordered his clone to attack. The 20 clones rushed over one after another. When they saw so many rats, their eyes became more serious, and they waved their tang swords continuously. Ling Feng's clone also killed those ferocious-looking, red-eyed rat monsters. His clones only had Tier 3 combat power, so they could quickly deal with the Tier 1 rat monsters. However, there were too many of them, which gave Ling Feng a headache. It wasn't dangerous, but he couldn't get out of this predicament in a short time. Ling Feng's blade rose and fell, and the system's notification sound constantly rang in his ears, causing the speed of Ling Feng's sword to increase by a few notches. Congratulations on killing the red-eyed rat monster. Level points plus 50. Congratulations on killing the red-eyed rat monster. Level points plus 50. Congratulations on killing the red-eyed rat monster. Level points plus 50. The system notification sound was like a stimulant, constantly reverberating in Ling Feng's ears. As a result, his hand movements also gradually accelerated. An hour later, the clone had killed 1,000 rat monsters and gained 50,000 points. After 3 hours, Ling Feng killed all the rats chasing after him. At this time, Ling Feng's leveling points had reached a historical number, over 300,000. Now, including all the upgrade points, Ling Feng had almost 500,000 upgrade points on him. However, he was still a little short of 1 million. He would only be able to upgrade his talent when he had 1 million upgrade points. This time, he had a headache. Should he improve his combat power or his talent first? 500,000 upgrade points were enough for him to increase his combat strength to advanced tier 3, but it was not enough to break through to tier 4 since they were two different concepts. He would need 10 times the level. Up points to cross this threshold. After much consideration, Ling Feng decided to improve his talent first. As for combat power, if his talent were improved, his cultivation speed would also increase. This way, he could save a lot of upgrade points. After deciding on the child, Ling Feng looked at the remaining 3 clones and smiled bitterly. He then recalled them and summoned 10 more clones to draw the map. He then summoned 5 fire clones and 5 water clones. The fire clones were responsible for killing the rat monsters, while the water clones killed the mantis. The division of labor was clear. What? Are you asking me? Of course, I'm going to find a place to hide. After that, his level. Up points also kept increasing. Towards this, Ling Feng started to complain again. It would be great if this clone could ignore distance. In that case, he only needed to lie down at home while the clone was hunting the alien races. Unfortunately, the clone needed to control the distance. Once the length was exceeded, the clone would automatically dissipate. And with Ling Feng's current mental power, the clone could only exist within a radius of 500 kilometers. If he wanted to improve his mental power, besides improving his combat strength and transforming his talent, he could only come into contact with related cultivation techniques at university. He had also heard that pills could increase mental power in the myriad world. However, it was too early to think about this. He should speed up his killing of monsters and then improve his combat power and talent. He couldn't bite off more than he could chew. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, Ling Feng's level had reached 700,000. Finally, my hard work paid off. I will be able to upgrade my talent soon. By then, I will also be an S.rank talent. Ling Feng's heart was filled with excitement. When he reached S.rank, the school would also reward him with this. I wonder what kind of treasure the school will reward me with. At this moment, he suddenly felt that one of his clones had lost contact with him. Immediately, Ling Feng's heart tightened. Then, he connected to another clone and had him quickly go to the place where he had lost contact with the clone to check. A huge vine appeared in front of Ling Feng, tightly wrapped around the clone's waist, and the clone had no way of breaking free. The clone continued to resist, but it was all in vain. The vines were also very strange, and the thorns on the vines stabbed into the clone's body. The clone's body trembled, and the energy in its body quickly decreased. It was all absorbed by the vines. Then, the clone disappeared into the air as if it had never existed. Ling Feng's training with this clone was also completely cut off. Brothers, come to me. Let's kill him. The clones received Ling Feng's order and quickly came over. All sorts of clones released various attacks, but when they hit the vines, there was no reaction. Or rather, the effect was not particularly good. Only the fire clone's fire spurted out and dealt huge damage, burning a large portion of the vines. The vines seemed to know the power of the fire clone and retreated. Ling Feng's eyes lit up. He ordered the 5 fire clones to continue attacking the vines and recalled all 15 of them. He then summoned another 5 fire clones. Because the consumption of attribute clones was too great, Ling Feng could only maintain 10 attribute clones at the same time. Attack! Upon receiving the order, the 10 fire clones fired their skills as if they were free. The vines had no way out, so they could only wave them in the air. Suddenly, a heavy roar came from the ground. Then, the ground suddenly cracked open, and the clone quickly retreated. He did not continue to attack, but carefully observed what was going to happen next. A spherical root with dozens of vines growing on it appeared on the ground. Upon closer inspection, they were actually floating in the air. The stallion waved its vines at the clone, and without Ling Feng's command, the clone quickly dodged the vines. Chapter 40. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Slaying a Tier 4 warrior, learning new talents. Looking at the ball-shaped rhizome, Ling Feng's eyes turned serious. Check the monster's information. Do you want to spend 50 upgrade points? Yes. Then, the monster's information appeared in front of Ling Feng. Blood, Weeping Demonic Vine, Combat Strength. Beginner Tier 4, Talent. Life Absorption, Talent Level. F. Skills. Whip, Paralyzing Poison, Dance, Regrow, Bind. Seeing this information, Ling Feng was a little shocked. This was actually a monster with talent. This was too rare, he had only seen it in books. Humans were not the only ones who could use the awakening jade to awaken their talents. Animals could do the same, but they did not have the awakening jade. Instead, some relied on their own bloodline power, while others inherited the talents from their ancestors. There were also some who were gifted because of fortuitous encounters. In short, the difference between a monster with talent and a monster without talent was like heaven and earth. However, this monster was at beginner tier 4 and had talent. Ling Feng didn't know if he could defeat it, but after thinking about it carefully, its talent was only F. rank. Ling Feng heaved a sigh of relief. He can fight. Immediately after, the clones began to attack. Because they were all fire clones, the fight was not too difficult. After a round of spurting flames, the root had some wounds. A sudden change occurred. The spherical rhizome seemed to be enraged. Its vines kept waving in the air, flashing with green lights. Some clones could not dodge in time and could only resist with all their might. However, they were unable to block it. At the moment of contact, it dissipated in the air. For a moment, only half of Ling Feng's clones remained. Seeing this, Ling Feng knew that he couldn't delay any longer. One body, one heart. Immediately after, the remaining 9 clones turned into light streams and wrapped number 1 within. The tendril also saw that Ling Feng's state was wrong and wanted to break it. Then, he pulled out another vine. Just as the vine was about to touch the ball of light, a hand suddenly reached out. Immediately after, a second vine lashed out, and another hand grabbed it. When the white light disappeared, an incomparably tall figure appeared there. Each of the figure's hands was holding onto a vine. The 1,000-armed Guanyin. Ling Feng's 1,000-armed Guanyin wasn't the complete version, and it now only had 9 arms on each side. The left side held the prayer beads, the right flank held the golden wheel, and a pair of arms in the middle, both hands clasped together. If it was the complete version, it should have 500 arms on each side, with the first 2 arms put together. Unfortunately, Ling Feng didn't have that many doppelgangers. His current appearance was the ultimate form of the Guanyin. However, if he continued growing, he would have the confidence to simulate the complete version of the Guanyin when he had more than 1,000 clones. 1,000 arms launching an attack at the same time, just thinking about it was already very impressive. However, even the Guanyin, with only 20 arms, was enough to suppress the blood-weeping demonic vine, for it only had a dozen vines. The blood-weeping demonic vine naturally felt its life was in danger and seemed to want to escape. So it pulled out a few vines in an attempt to divert Ling Feng's attention. Naturally, Ling Feng also saw through it. First, he grabbed the vine and refused to let go. Then, he pulled it forward. Seeing that it had no hope of escaping, the blood-weeping vine began to resist intensely. The remaining few vines whipped towards Ling Feng, but Ling Feng only managed to grab them one by one. At this moment, the blood-weeping demonic vine no longer had any vines, and Ling Feng still had a few hands to use. He immediately put his hands together and ruthlessly stabbed forward. With a splat, the vine lost all its strength to resist. Its 20 hands rapidly hammered together, and that vine was squeezed to death by Ling Feng. Congratulations on killing the blood-weeping demonic vine, level points plus 700. Following that, they came into contact with one body as one, and Ling Feng's eyes were filled with excitement. With a clatter, a piece of crystal fell to the ground. Ling Feng became even more excited and quickly picked it up, placing it in his hand to feel it. They were actually talent crystals. This was simply something that could only be encountered by luck and not sought. Even if one were to go bankrupt, they might not be able to buy it. However, such an item was actually dropped by Ling Feng when he killed a monster. The reason talent crystals were lacking was that they were challenging to drop. Only some extremely high-level monsters had a minimal chance of dropping them, such as these beginner tier 4 talent monsters. To drop a talent crystal, it could only be said that Ling Feng had saved the Milky Way in his past life. He could not wait to hold the crystal in his hand and closed his eyes. The next moment, a large amount of energy flowed through Ling Feng's palm and into his mind. At this moment, Ling Feng's consciousness went from swimming in the boundless ocean. Suddenly, a massive star appeared above his head, shining brightly. Immediately after, another small star appeared above his head. However, the difference between the two stars was huge. Ling Feng looked at the scene in front of him and sighed. So this is the Sea of Consciousness. The Sea of Consciousness was the ocean of consciousness, containing a person's soul and spirit. Not only that, but it was also the source of everything that could be displayed in the human body. Talent, skills, and so on could all be displayed in this Sea of Consciousness. Ling Feng turned his head and saw many planets. However, those planets were all revolving around the two massive stars. He knew that those planets were the skills he had learned. The biggest one was One Heart One Body, followed by Heart Fire, and finally, Spurting Flames and Energy Slash. Ling Feng looked at all of this and sighed in his heart. Then, suddenly, his vision turned black. When he opened his eyes again, he had exited the Sea of Consciousness and returned to reality. Looking at the vine in front of him, Ling Feng's heart always had a trace of desire for some unknown reason. He wanted to devour this plant. I know. This is the side effect of life absorption. Ling Feng suddenly understood why he had such a feeling. This feeling was too strong. It was as if he wanted to go to the toilet. He couldn't hold it in at all. The more he held it in, the more uncomfortable he felt. So Ling Feng couldn't bear it anymore. It just so happened that he wanted to see what benefits life drain had. In a short while, his main body arrived in front of the vine, and several clones stood beside him. Looking at the vine in front of him, Ling Feng swallowed a mouthful of saliva and immediately placed his palm on it. Then, with a thought, waves of green light emitted from Ling Feng's palm. A powerful suction force also came from his palm. The life essence of the vine also continuously poured into Ling Feng's body. The influx of energy immediately made Ling Feng's spirit come back. His physical body had become more robust, and his mental power had increased. Half an hour passed, and Ling Feng also raised his hand. This vine had already become shriveled. It was as if it would shatter with a single step. Ling Feng couldn't help but sigh, this talent is really overbearing. Although this innate ability was only F. rank, the feeling after absorbing it told him that this natural ability was definitely not of little value. The effect was pronounced even if it took about half an hour to absorb. His physical body was strengthened by about 1/10, and his mental power was increased by about 1%. Is he trying to make me walk the path of devouring? Ling Feng said with a smile. Then, he opened the system and asked, can I increase the talent level of life absorption? Yes, but the premise is that your main talent has to be upgraded to S. rank before you can improve life absorption. Hearing this, Ling Feng couldn't help but turn serious. It looks like I'll have to increase the speed of my clone talent.